that might have seemed like a lot, and then it came out of nowhere. But on the first video that I did, where John Mayer broke my head, I was talking about how box one, pentatonic, minor pentatonic, relates to E major because it's the relative major. Same. Now there's a lot more notes in this scale because it's not a pentatonic scale; it's the full major scale. So there's going to be 7 notes instead of 5. This only outlines 5 notes, and your extra ones lie here. You can't really hang on these notes unless they are in the chord that you're playing. If they're a part of the chord that you're playing, you can outline those notes. Now, if you know your C major scale in your open position, you're just treating this note as C, and now this plays everything that would be open by the nut. Now when you get here, there is an in-between shape here for the pentatonic scale. But to me, this goes pretty quickly to this. And people were asking me what I mean by chord tones, outlining the chords, the notes of the chord, that is, no matter where you are. So, knowing chord shapes and multiple chord shapes for the same chords, that's going to require you to learn your notes on the fretboard. I usually recommend people start with their E string and their A string, your 2 fattest strings. Because those are the most often where you're going to find roots for a chord. And so on your low E string, you're going to be looking at your E major and G major shapes. Maybe something like this. And on your A string, you're going to be looking at A major and C major shapes. Now in this example, we're looking at C sharp minor because that's our 1 chord. We're going to A. So I want to show you again, how you can solo this, or maybe even just come up with a melody. How would you make a melody over this? Could you just go anywhere in this scale? Yes and no. That was pretty cool. But to me, that doesn't really have a sense of direction. If you know where you're starting, you can really accent and write something that complements what's going on. It's a good start. So let's break that down. How did we get there? Well, there's only 2 notes there that are out of that C minor chord that aren't in the chord that's being played. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 notes. And they all come, wow, how convenient, on the fret that I'm barring. And if I want to do something over the A, I can go a few ways. I can walk down the A like I just did, kind of like an arpeggio. I can slide into that A because I'm on my A string. I can go. I like that. Let's try that. We're gonna wait for 1 pass. I didn't really go over where that A comes from. But I went to this note because I know that my A chord is major. And a major third from any root is down a string, down a fret. Unless for some reason you'd be rooting a chord on the G string, which doesn't really ever happen unless you're doing some weird inversion, like in the middle of C. Anyway, that's not important. What you really need to take away from this is if I have a root here, let's say I'm playing A, how do you make that chord major or minor? Well, you can stack the 5, stack the 5th, and it doesn't give you any indication if it's major or if it's minor. The third is your key. You either have a major third or a minor third. A major third is close, like the top side of your G chord. A minor third is far. It's sad. We'll take all this fuzz off and you can kind of hear these emotions a little bit more. So, I tell you all of that to say, I know that I have a major chord. And so I'm arpeggiating that. If it were minor, I wouldn't hit this note. I would hit this note. But it's major. So that's what I'm outlining for that melody. It's hardly a melody. I'm kind of just picking through the chord. And that's it. And same thing for soloing. I might come out here, if I get really rowdy and I want to go back low, I might use these extensions. This. Very rare I even. Cool thing is you can catch the root there for our first chord. Those are a few ideas of how you can get over that. There's also another idea that I want to touch on next time in terms of how you can embellish on the top side and low side of major chords, kind of like how Marcus King does in Wildflowers at One. All that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that next time. But I appreciate you guys watching, and subscribe and follow for more content.